The X-Men franchise has everything that you really need to be successful in comic books. You got lots of great characters, you got lots of great lore, wonderful team aspects of all that stuff, but there's one thing that you really need to make the engine go, and that is creative talent. And one thing I have noticed almost across the board with X-Men From the Ashes is a severe lack of creative talent. You know, we do have Jed McKay, who's pretty all right, Gail Simone, who was pretty all right, Eve Ewing, who showed signs that she might be pretty all right in the future, never really got there. Jackson Lanzig, Colin Kelly, not all right. Stephanie Phillips, certainly not all right. Jeff Thorne, not really all that good. And now we have the creators for Wolverine and X-Factor. And I'd been talking about, like, you know, if you turn your head and you squint, you're like, well, if X-Men is good and Uncanny X-Men isn't too bad, and then Wolverine is good, you know, you've got enough for a successful X-Men universe. You know, 3 titles that people actually want to read, and I don't think that's what we're going to get. I would love to be surprised and have to eat crow on this channel every day for a couple of months going, you know what? I was completely wrong. But I've read enough comic books from these particular creators to know that they're not really bringing much to the table at all. Certainly not any type of audience that comes with the writer, because they haven't really put any big writers on any of these titles, which I think is really surprising. You imagine the launch is when you put your best foot forward, and apparently Tom Brevoort's best foot forward on X-Men just wasn't very good. So let's get into Wolverine, which has the better writer, and then we'll get into X-Factor, which definitely has the worst writer. Perhaps even worse than Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig. Yeah, I said it. Wolverine will abandon the X-Men for his old wolf pack in an all-new solo series that sees Logan unleash the beast inside himself, set during the upcoming From the Ashes relaunch of Marvel's X-Men titles. The latest Wolverine ongoing series returns Logan to the wilderness of Canada. There he will find himself in a new war against an ancient villain. Marvel has announced that the new Wolverine series will be launching this September from writer Saladin Ahmed and artist Martin Coccolo, coinciding with the 50th anniversary of Wolverine. And I do love how they're really occasioning this to let you know you're coming in during an anniversary and we are absolutely targeting your wallet. Not with quality, but by saying we're doing milestones and stuff like this. So they are absolutely going to try to double penetrate your wallet and, you know, do lots of variant covers, and there's going to be all kinds of specials and stuff. So this is the worst case scenario. The original rumor was that it was going to be Saladin Ahmed with Greg Capullo on art. And you're like, well, Greg Capullo is an amazing artist. He fits perfectly with Wolverine. Maybe I can just skip the words and look in the pictures and it won't be that bad, because certainly Greg Capullo elevates basically everything that he illustrates. So we get no Greg Capullo, but we do get Saladin Ahmed with Martin Coccolo on art. Martin Coccolo, not a bad artist, certainly not Greg Capullo, not even Victor Bogdanovich, and certainly not an Adam Kubert, who I believe were on the last Wolverine relaunch with Ben Percy or whatever. Me personally, I don't have a problem with Martin Coccolo, or it might be Martin Coccolo. I'm not really sure. Somewhere in there, he's a perfectly fine artist. If I was trying to make somebody a bigger name that I thought had potential to be, like, maybe not a superstar, but a big deal at Marvel Comics, I probably would have went with like Carlos Magno. I think his style would absolutely fit what they're trying to do with Wolverine here to a T. But Martin Coccolo, whatever. Sounds perfectly fine, reasonable to me. The premise of the book, Wolverine gives up on the X-Men, you know, is burned by Krakoa and says, fuck this, I'm going back to doing what I did before, and I'm going to be my own man, and I'm going to be a solo character. Makes a whole lot of sense. That's actually a really good place to start from. The big problem is he's also in Uncanny X-Men, where he's going to be living in New Orleans. So does it really make sense that he's given up on the X-Men altogether if he's in New Orleans fighting with the Uncanny X-Men, but he's also brooding in Canada at the same time? Like, there's no cohesion there. Maybe there's going to be 2 Logans in the universe, because we know there's going to be another Wolverine on NYX, so they'd like you to believe X-23 is Wolverine. Saladin Ahmed, he's not bad. He's just certainly not good either. You know, he just did a Miles Morales run that was fairly uneventful, unexciting. There are a couple of issues that are high moments, and there are lots of issues that are low moments, and there's lots of stuff right in there in the middle. Right now he's on Daredevil, and it's not very good. It's actually a really stupid concept and idea for Daredevil that he's doing, where Daredevil becomes a priest, and he's running like an orphanage, and he's trying to be Daredevil and fighting the 7 deadly sins. And there's been a couple of moments in there that aren't too bad, but there's been a lot of eye-rolling kind of stupidity within the story itself that doesn't make sense. So I don't know why Tom Brevoort and other leaders at Marvel Comics think Saladin Ahmed is like a fucking superstar waiting to happen. The dude's been there for a very long time now. I think like a decade, and it ain't happened because it's not who he is. He's just, I don't even know if I'd call him a steady hand. He's just a dude that can do something that won't shit the bed like Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. That's not really superstar in the making type of stuff, but they keep putting him on characters and more high profile characters along the way. And he's done one good thing that had quality to it, and that was Black Bolt. It was a miniseries, and that was a long time ago. So I just don't get the idea that Saladin Ahmed is going to be a superstar at any point in his career, but Marvel Comics sure as hell seem to think so. The new era for the X-Men brings with it a lot of changes for Wolverine. He's already suffered the loss of his home on Krakoa, his son Akihiro, and his faith in Charles Xavier in his dream. How much more can he endure? Well, apparently he has more seismic shifts ahead of him. Marvel promises that the first issue of the new series will include a key first appearance and a major addition to the lore of Wolverine. As I said, they're really caging this thing to let you know, these are collectibles. We got a key first appearance, and this is going to shake up the Wolverine history and lore and stuff like that. I don't want to see Saladin Ahmed come in and shake up anything on Wolverine. I would like to see him getting back to the basics and just tell a strong Wolverine story for 12 issues straight. And then why don't you take some liberties and start shaking up the character? Would I actually believe that you get who Wolverine is and what makes him tick and why fans actually like the character? But everyone's got to put their mushroom stamp on a character when they take over. And, there's a key first appearance of that number one issue. And it's a number one issue, so instead of being $6, it's going to be $7 and probably have a red band poly bag fucking cover on it with some interior variants too, just so they can extract a couple more coins out of your wallet, $1 at a time or whatever. But, the basic premise, if Wolverine wasn't on the Uncanny X-Men and we knew he wasn't in New Orleans, kind of makes sense. It would actually be a good starting point for the character. And I think you could do a lot with him there. And maybe really just build it up where the X-Men are like, where is Logan? Where's Wolverine? We've called out to him and he hasn't shown up. He's not helping us. He really has given up hope, and given up faith in the X-Men themselves. But then finally there's like this one moment where he has to return and back up the X-Men and get the team back together. And that's good conflict and that's good storytelling. But they're just going to try to put him in two places at the exact same time with two completely different states of mind. But that'll work, I guess. It's Wolverine. You can do anything with the character all at the exact same time, apparently. Things do get much, much worse when we hear the X-Factor information. Fame, fortune, mutants from the ashes of Krakoa. A new mutant arms race sweeps the globe. International governments are building their own mutant armies, but only America's X-Factor has the most powerful and most patriotic, most marketable mutant heroes to stem the tide and make the world safe for democracy. Join them as they go one death-defying mission to another. Who will die? Who will fall in love? Who will be the first to sell out? X-Factor is written by Mark Russell and illustrated by Bob Quinn. I will maintain this until the day I die that Dan Didio knew Mark Russell better than anybody and had him on the perfect comic book property, Snagglepuss. That should have been the fucking apex of this dude's comic book writing career because he sucks to such a degree. He thinks he's funny. He's not. He thinks he's a satirist. He's just a walking joke, a walking meme up to himself. And this isn't going to be celebrating X-Factor or X-Men or being additive to from the ashes. It's going to be taking the piss out of X-Men and X-Factor because that's what Mark Russell does. He literally cannot help himself because he thinks he's funny. And he's not. And the premise behind this, I don't think it's as bad as NYX. But I do certainly think it's just as bad as X-Force. It's certainly one of the worst foundational elements presented for all these books out there. How fucking stupid. The X-Men just want to be superstars. They want to be celebrities. And they are in the pocket of the U.S. government. And everyone's got their own mutant teams like Latveria. And they've already done it with Russia. And everyone will have it like, I don't know, Pacific Rim, where every country had their own patriotic themed fucking Jaeger or whatever. It's stupid. I get it. You don't like corporate America. Why do you work for Marvel Comics? Why do you work for DC Comics if you don't like corporations that present entertainment? You are literally part of the cog, Mark Russell. You are not the rebel. You are not punk comic books. You are the fucking sellout that you're trying to make fun of every single time you try to write one of these comic books where you take characters that exist and just go out there and piss people off, thinking that you're sticking it to the man while you're taking a paycheck from that same man. So like this, like the idea of what punk is in 2020 is like, I just don't get it. You guys are the sellouts. You're the ones that are championing on corporate America. You're part of the cog. All of us normal people are the ones sitting outside going, Jesus, what the fuck happened to all this stuff? Bob Quinn on art. I thought he was going to be something there for a minute, but it never really happened. He's a perfectly average artist, probably too good for this X-Factor book and what Mark Russell's trying to be doing. But I don't think Bob Quinn is ever going to be like a big name in comic books. He's a guy that can do a series that won't embarrass himself and certainly won't embarrass the publisher, but he's not going to be on a big time book. And certainly the writing is all out there that X-Factor is not intended to be a big time book because they put Mark Russell on it and, obviously Bob Quinn's on it. Formed by the government in response to a post-Krakoa outbreak of mutant paramilitary op squads and mercenary teams, X-Factor will be co-led by Angel and Havoc and include recruits like Pyro, Frenzy, Feral, and more. Part special agents for missions that require an arsenal of superpowers and part celebrity propaganda machine. X-Factor will wage war against emerging factions like Mutant Underground and X-Term. Whether they believe in their actions or are just doing it for a check, the members of X-Factor are no fools when it comes to shady politics. As hidden agendas rear their ugly head, they'll fight against the dark consequences and disastrous public opinion from the inside. I can't imagine anything less exciting or more boring or more lame to do with Angel and Havoc. And I really like Pyro, too. There's actually some really cool members on this team that I would like to see in a good book. But apparently that is not in the cards for X-Factor or Tom Brevoort or anybody associated with X-Men because they put this jabroni on the book and he's going to make them fucking clowns. Like I said, this dude had the perfect spot in the world in comic books when he was on Snagglepuss. A character no one cares about. No one cares if you do anything with him. You can be as satirical as you want and putting him as a gay cat in the 60s and no one's going to say anything because it's fucking Snagglepuss. And that was the perfect writing job for Mark Russell for his life. They should have just put him on that book forever and taken him off of Flintstones because Flintstones are at least cool at one point. Snagglepuss is just, the fake Pink Panther or whatever. I don't know why this guy keeps getting jobs, but X-Factor is a fucking miniseries waiting to be announced. If this thing makes it to 8 issues, I will be flabbergasted. My jaw will be on the fucking ground. I'll be like, I cannot believe, out of spite, Tom Brevoort and Marvel Comics decided to lose more money on this X-Factor book to keep it going because no one's going to read this. That is the lamest fucking concept. NYX is the lamest concept, but it ain't much better. And X-Force is just terrible. At least X-Force should have sold on name alone. X-Factor doesn't have that. If X-Factor isn't good, people won't read it. People won't buy it just because it's X-Factor. It was never that title. So those are the new creatives coming along for X-Men from the Ashes. Saladin Ahmed, a perfectly boring, lame writer that's never going to do anything of note with Wolverine. He has officially been promoted way above his actual talent on a character like Wolverine. And they're already happy with Daredevil. Wolverine is even more important than that character. And then Mark Russell on X-Factor, like, God, the jokes would be terrible. I'll probably try to destroy Doc's will to live by reviewing this with him, but it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. If you'd like more conversations about X-Men, specifically with Doc, we will be covering some more information from Tom Brevoort regarding X-Men from the Ashes in the Doc Unfiltered podcast, which will be live on Sunday on Think Critical Patreon. If you would like to support the channel, and if you like what we're doing, and you want to help keep us around, that is the way to do it. And we've got lots of bonus stuff for you there in the form of podcasts every single day. There's a link to the Patreon in the video description.